I always imagined my engagement dinner would be one of the happiest nights of my life. It's a celebration of love, of commitment, of two families coming together. Instead, it ended with me walking out of a restaurant, ring in hand and tears blurring my vision. My Daniel had proposed just 2 weeks ago. It was perfect roses, candles, a speech about forever. I said yes without hesitation. For 2 years, I believed he was my partner, my safe place. But last night shattered that illusion. The dinner was his parents' idea. Chance, they said, to toast to the future and welcome me into the family. I put on my best dress, spent an hour curling my hair, and tried to ignore the knot of nerves in my stomach. See? Daniel's parents never liked me much. I wasn't from their world. My dad was a mechanic, my mom a school teacher. I didn't grow up summering in the Hamptons or attending private schools, I knew that. But I thought love would bridge the gap. Dinner started stiff, as usual. His mom made polite small talk. His sister scrolled her phone under the table. Then his dad raised his glass with a smirk and said the words that broke me. To Daniel. For finding love, Evan, if it's with a gold digger. The table erupted in laughter, not the kind that brushes off an awkward joke. Real, full laughter. Then the worst part, Daniel laughed too. He didn't defend me, didn't correct his father. He just laughed. My cheeks burned as everyone clinked glasses. I stared at Daniel, silently begging him to say something. But he didn't. He just reached for his wine like nothing was wrong. That silence was louder than any insult. I excused myself to the restroom, hands shaking as I stared at my reflection. My makeup was flawless, my dress elegant, but I felt invisible, disposable. Like my worth had just been reduced to money I didn't even have. When I walked back to the table, no one even seemed to notice the storm inside me. They were already on to the next joke. So I did the only thing I could think of. I slipped the ring off my finger, set it gently on the table, and said nothing. The laughter died instantly. Daniel's face went pale. His mother gasped, but I didn't wait for their reactions. I picked up my purse, straightened my dress, and walked out of the restaurant without a word. Now, here I am. Alone in my apartment, the engagement dress still clinging to me like a cruel reminder, mascara streaking down my face. I thought last night would be a beginning. Instead, it feels like the brutal end of everything I thought I knew. And the worst part, Daniel hasn't called. Not once. When I woke up this morning, my phone was silent. No missed calls, no voicemails, not even a text from Daniel. For a moment I thought maybe my phone had glitched, but no, he really hadn't reached out. That silence cut deeper than his father's words. I replayed the night over and over in my head, wondering if I overreacted. Should I have laughed it off? And should I have stayed and swallowed my pride just to keep the peace? But then I pictured Daniel's face again, his smile, his chuckle, and the shame came rushing back. Around noon, a message finally appeared. Not from Daniel, from his mother. It was short, sharp, and cold. You embarrassed Daniel last night. Walking out was childish. If you want to be part of this family, you'll need to grow thicker skin. My hands trembled as I read it. Thicker skin? I'd endured their snide comments for 2 years. It's the way his mother critiqued my clothes. It's the way his sister rolled her eyes when I talked about my job. Now his father calling me a gold digger in front of everyone. Enough was enough. I didn't respond. Instead, I stared at the empty space on my finger where the ring used to sit. The skin was pale, marked from wearing it every day since the proposal. Already felt like a ghost of something that never really existed. An hour later, my best friend Lisa showed up at my apartment with coffee and donuts. She didn't even ask, just barged in, took one look at me in last night's dress, and said, "Okay, talk, now." I told her everything, every detail, every laugh, every look across that dinner table. By the end, her face was red with anger. "He laughed?" she asked, voice trembling. When I nodded, she shook her head. "Girl, that's not just disrespect, that's betrayal." Hearing it out loud, I realized she was right. Daniel didn't just fail to defend me. He joined in. He chose their comfort over my dignity. That wasn't love. That was cowardice. Later in the evening, another text came through. It's time from Daniel. "We need to talk. You embarrassed me last night. Come over." No apology, no acknowledgement of what his father said. Just blame, just control. I stared at the message for a long time before turning my phone face down on the table. I wasn't ready to respond. Not yet. Maybe not ever. As the night dragged on, I realized something. I hadn't just walked out on an engagement dinner. I had walked out on a lifetime of being treated as less. And though my heart was shattered, somewhere deep down, I felt the tiniest flicker of relief. Because maybe, just maybe, this was the universe showing me who Daniel really was, before it was too late. I didn't respond to Daniel's text right away. I left my phone face down, letting his words sit there like a stain I wasn't ready to clean. But ignoring him didn't stop the storm, it just gave him more time to gather thunder. By the next morning, I woke up to a string of messages. Why are you ignoring me? We need to fix this before it gets worse. My family thinks you're unstable. Come apologize and we can move on. Apologize, my blood ran cold. I reread the line, blinking in disbelief. Somehow, in his mind, I wasn't the one owed an apology. I was the villain in a story his family had written long before I ever stepped into it. Lisa urged me not to reply.
He's gaslighting you?
She said flatly. Don't give him the satisfaction, but part of me still wanted answers. I needed to know if there was even a shred of the man I thought I loved left in him. So, against my better judgment, I agreed to meet him for coffee at a cafe near his office. Neutral territory. Public enough to keep things calm. I showed up in jeans and a sweater stripped down, nothing glamorous, just me. When Daniel walked in, his expression wasn't relief or remorse. It was irritation, like I'd inconvenienced him by existing outside his control. He sat down across from me, eyes sharp. Do you realize how bad you made me look? He started, not even bothering with hello. I let him speak, watching as he shifted all the blame onto me. How his family jokes differently. How I should have just smiled through it. How my walking out proved them right. Each word was like a nail in the coffin of the life we were supposed to build. Finally, I cut him off. My voice was calm, steady, even though my heart was racing. Daniel, your father called me a gold digger, and you laughed. Do you understand what that felt like? For a moment, he hesitated, but then he shrugged. He didn't mean it. You take things too seriously. You need to toughen up if you're going to be part of this family. And that was it. That was the moment the last thread of hope snapped. I realized Daniel didn't want a partner, he wanted a punching bag. Someone to absorb his family's cruelty and call it love. I stood up, slid my untouched coffee back across the table, and said softly, Then I guess I was never part of your family to begin with. His face tightened. So you're really ending this over one dinner? I looked him straight in the eye. No, I'm ending this because you showed me exactly who you are. Then I walked out. And unlike the engagement dinner, this time I didn't cry. This time I felt free. The fallout began almost immediately. By the next morning, my phone was buzzing again, not just with Daniel's texts, but with messages from numbers I didn't recognize. His mother, his sister, even one of his cousins. Each one had the same tone, condescending, dismissive, and dripping with entitlement. Daniel told us, you've stormed out again. You're making a fool of yourself. Relationships take compromise. Learn to laugh at jokes, even when they sting. You'll never find someone better than Daniel. Think carefully before you throw this away. I read them all, my chest tightening. It was surreal. They didn't care how humiliated I'd been. They didn't care that their words had cut me to the bone. All they cared about was protecting their golden boy's image. Daniel, meanwhile, had switched tactics. His texts turned sugary, almost desperate. I miss you. We can fix this. Talk to my dad if that's what you want. But the thing is, should have talked to his dad the second the word gold digger left his mouth, not weeks later when he realized I was gone. Lisa reminded me of that every time I wavered. Don't fall for it, she said. If he really respected you, he wouldn't have needed this wake-up call. Still, I couldn't help but wrestle with the memories. 2 years of Sunday mornings tangled up on the couch. The way he kissed my forehead before work, the goofy way he sang off-key in the car, those were real. But so was the silence at that dinner table. So was the shrug at the cafe. By the end of the week, the whispers began. Mutual friends reached out, cautiously asking what happened. Some admitted Daniel's family had already started their version of the story. That I was too sensitive, that I couldn't handle the pressure of being with someone successful. I laughed bitterly. Pressure? What they called pressure, I called cruelty. And I was done dressing cruelty up as culture. Then, just when I thought things were settling, Daniel showed up at my apartment unannounced. Looked exhausted, dark circles under his eyes. his shirt wrinkled like he hadn't slept. He held the ring box in his hand like a peace offering. "Let's start over," he said, voice soft. "I'll tell my dad to apologize. I'll make it right. Just don't throw this away." For a moment, my chest tightened. This was the Daniel I had once believed in, the man who made promises, who said forever. But then I remembered, this wasn't an apology. It was damage control. It wasn't about me. It was about him losing. I crossed my arms, steadying myself. "You laughed, Daniel. You chose their comfort over my dignity. And I can't forget that." His jaw clenched. Realized then that the power he'd always had over me was gone. The silence that followed was the loudest we had ever shared. After Daniel left my apartment that night, I thought maybe, just maybe, he'd finally understand it was over. But instead of backing off, he doubled down. His messages the next day weren't pleading anymore. They were sharp, almost threatening. "You're making a huge mistake. Do you really think anyone else will put up with you?" I should have listened to my family from the start. It was a complete shift from the man holding a ring box the night before. The sweetness was gone. In its place was bitterness, the kind that revealed his true colors more clearly than ever. When I didn't reply, he escalated. He showed up outside my office during lunch, waiting by the entrance with flowers. My coworkers watched as he intercepted me, shoving the bouquet into my hands like it was a prize. "Don't do this," he said loudly, for everyone to hear. "Don't throw away 2 years over a stupid joke." My cheeks burned, but not from love, from embarrassment, from knowing he was performing, not apologizing. I handed the flowers back, meeting his eyes. "This isn't about a joke. This is about respect. You don't get to parade me around like a prop." The look on his face shifted instantly from desperation to fury. He muttered under his breath as I walked past him, and I knew this wasn't about love anymore. It was about control. Losing me meant losing the story he wanted to tell. That evening, Lisa came over again. She found me sitting on the couch, drained. "He won't stop," I admitted. She squeezed my hand. "That's because he knows he's lost. You're stronger than you think. Don't give him the satisfaction of breaking you down." Her words grounded me. I realized Daniel wasn't trying to win me back. He was trying to wear me down, to get me so tired, so exhausted, that I'd fold just to make the noise stop. But I wasn't that girl anymore. By the weekend, his desperation reached its peak. He posted a long, dramatic note on social media about losing the love of his life, painting himself as the victim. He wrote about how I gave up, and how outside influences poisoned what we had. The comments flooded, in some offering sympathy, others tagging me, asking what really happened. I didn't respond. I didn't need to, because anyone who knew me, anyone who really knew us, understood. His story was unraveling on its own. For the first time in weeks, I slept peacefully, because I finally saw the pattern for what it was. Manipulation, dressed up as love. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. Daniel could beg, threaten, or broadcast his pain to the world. But none of it mattered anymore. I had already chosen myself, and that was a choice I wasn't about to regret. The final straw came 2 weeks later. I was at a cafe with Lisa when Daniel's mother walked in. She spotted me instantly and marched over, her heels clicking like tiny hammers on the floor. "You broke my son's heart," she hissed, not even bothering with pleasantries. "Do you know how much he's suffering? How dare you embarrass our family like this?" I set down my coffee slowly, meeting her glare with calm I didn't know I had. "Your son embarrassed me first. He laughed while you all called me names. That's not a family I'd ever want to marry into." She sputtered something under her breath, then stormed out. Lisa let out a low whistle. You didn't even flinch, and I didn't. For the first time since that disastrous dinner, I realized the power balance had shifted. I wasn't the one begging for scraps of respect anymore. I wasn't shrinking to fit into Daniel's world. I was standing tall in mine. A few nights later, Daniel sent one final text. "I hope you're happy. You'll regret this one day." I stared at the screen, waiting for some pang of sadness, some flicker of nostalgia. But there was nothing, just relief. I blocked his number, deleted our old photos, and tucked the memories away like dusty letters that no longer held meaning. Life moved on, slowly at first, then all at once. I threw myself into work, into rebuilding the parts of me that had been chipped away by years of quiet compromises. I started painting again, something I hadn't touched since college. I joined a weekend hiking group, even laughed for the first time in months. One evening, I caught my reflection in the mirror and barely recognized myself. Not because I looked different, but because I felt different, stronger, softer with myself. Free. Lisa raised a glass to me at dinner a week later. "Two walking away," she said, grinning. "Hardest thing to do, but damn, you did it with style." I clinked my glass against hers. "To walking away," I echoed. Daniel faded into the background like a shadow at dusk. Whatever story he spun to his friends and family didn't matter anymore, because I knew my truth. I had loved, I had trusted, and when it became clear neither was being returned, I chose myself, and that choice saved me. Looking back, it almost feels surreal. One night of laughter at my expense changed everything. But maybe it wasn't just one night. It was the moment the mask slipped and I finally saw who he and his family really were. Either way, I don't regret handing back that ring. It's not for a second. Sometimes the best happily ever after isn't walking down the aisle. It's walking out the door. If you've made it this far, go ahead and hit the like button, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments.